Hello and welcome to the Witness History podcast from the BBC World Service. All this week we're looking back at moments of protest and resistance. And today Luis Hidalgo takes us back to the armed struggle against British colonial rule in Kenya. Thousands of suspected Mau Mau rebels had been locked up in internment camps and some were tortured. Then in October 1956, the authorities captured the Mau Mau leader, Dedan Kimathi.
To the little town of Nairi in Kikuyu territory, Kenya police bring the biggest prize of the anti-terrorist campaign, Dedan Kimathi, self-styled Field Marshal of the Mau Mau organization. Kimathi was wearing a leopard skin jacket and cap, half disguise, half uniform, when they ambushed and wounded him.
By the time that Dedan Kimathi, the Mau Mau leader, was captured, there were no more than around 250 Mau Mau fighters left in the forests. And by then, the colonial authorities had been very effective in isolating these groups and cutting them off from their support.
Professor David Anderson is one of the leading chroniclers of the Mau Mau.
The leading special branch officer in Kenya, a man named Ian Henderson, had targeted Kimathi, and they'd sent into the forests a number of Mau Mau turncoats who'd been captured and had been persuaded to fight for the British. And on the morning of 21st of October, Henderson arranged an ambush for Kimathi and his group. Kimathi saw them coming, made a run for it, and all that morning he was chased through the forests, and eventually at around 9:30 on that morning, he tried to break out of the forests and get towards Nyeri town, and in crossing the boundary out of the forest, he was spotted by a patrol of police, and one of them shot and wounded him. He was then captured.
An old British Pathé newsreel reported the news.
£500 was the price on Dedan Kimathi's head, and it's expected to go to the man who wounded him. Kimathi will be charged with carrying a lethal weapon, a capital offence in Kenya today. His capture will have a great psychological effect, for the Mau Mau leaders still at large are only small fry. Without Kimathi, Mau Mau's days are numbered.
Gitu Wakahangeri was one of those Mau Mau rebels, but he'd been captured 2 years earlier.
Dedan Kimathi was a comrade in the struggle for independence. He went to the bush, and I was taken to detention camp. He was a great fighter, a great person who was determined to liberate Kenya from colonial domination.
Gitu had been 17 when he joined the Mau Mau in the late 40s. His family were Kikuyu, Kenya's largest ethnic group, who'd seen much of their land taken by white settlers.
My father was in that group of elderly people who were fighting to get their land back. And therefore, I was influenced by what they were saying, what they were doing, and I decided to join them.
The Kikuyu were particularly badly affected by the impact of colonial conquest in Kenya. The centre of the white settler economy was in the central highlands of Kenya, which had been Kikuyu land. And the white settlers had taken farms from the Kikuyu in that area. The Kikuyu were also quite populous. By 1952 there were around 1.4 million of them. And land hunger had become a real problem.